Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Untapped Podcast. My name is Jacob Gabel.
And my name is Jacob Wurtz. Guys, welcome to YouTube exclusive number 3. Number 3, uno, dos, tres.
This guy speaks Spanish.
Sure, for sure. You know, it comes from the baseball roots, you know. I also have sick tan lines, as we can all see.
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah, really awesome. Yeah. So I don't want to hear it in the comments, okay?
And he's jacked.
Leave it.
That helps.
We're getting there. Let's just hop right in. I'm kind of excited to talk about this because it's going to be kind of fun.
It's going to be fun, yeah.
So guys, we wanted to talk about the Sigma male trend going on right now on social media, and especially with like the younger crowd and whatnot. As I've said a million times, like I work with a lot of youth athletes and whatnot, so I hear all the funny sayings that are going around and whatnot. Some ironic, some unironic, and they actually mean it. And sometimes it's just like, oh man, what am I listening to right now?
Oh, you know? Oh, it's painful sometimes.
It's funny though. Like I try to laugh. I try to laugh at it.
Well, it's been what, the last 2 to 3 years? This trend has been becoming a thing. Give or take.
I'd say so. Maybe since COVID.
And I think a lot of these trends too, and this is kind of like giving context to it. I feel like a lot of these trends are resulting from feminism as well. It's like this opposite, like, because there was like what do you call it, the MGTOW, MGTOW, the men going their own way. Have you seen that one?
Oh, too? Yes.
Yeah. So that one to me is like almost a parallel to the Sigma thing. Yeah. The Sigma thing is supposed to be like, you know, you're stoic, girls come to you, that type of thing is like the idea behind it.
Don't chase and these types
Don't
of
chase,
things. Yes.
etc. But I feel like these men going their own way, Sigma, etc., are literally men's response to feminism in a lot of ways.
Could be a little bit.
And like, again, I'm not saying it's guaranteed from that, but there has been like a swing in our culture when it comes to male and female roles, as we've talked about before.
For sure.
And I think that has swung a lot towards a weird side of the male trends, you know what I mean? Same with the red pill stuff.
And on that note, I think we start with the negatives, because we wanted to talk about the negatives, and there still are positives to this trend and to this ideology, I guess would be kind of a decent word to use there. Yeah. But I say we start with the negatives here, and first and foremost, I think number one is it can be very cheesy.
100%.
Like extremely cheesy.
It's cringe. Full-blown cringe.
You know, we were laughing. I think you sent me a video on Twitter, Instagram, or whatever, and it was a typical, you know, there's a sleeping wolf within me, and I can go from calmness to death row in the blink of an eye. It's just like, what is this guy even saying? Like, what does that even mean?
Like, this is definitely a 13-year-old saying this right now.
Yes.
13-year-old boy. Oh my God.
Exactly. And it's just like, obviously, especially me, like you're doing more the workouts and fitness-related type stuff on social media. Yeah. I do a lot more of the, you know, more aesthetic, like vibey content, aesthetic type content with some sounds that resemble some of these things, but like I would never use a sound like that if I'm being 100% honest.
No. Yeah.
I like to use like real quotes.
Like actual real people. Yeah, exactly.
You know, the Dana Whites, Joe Rogans, or, you know, whoever else. Even like Alan Watts has some really, really cool like vibey sounds. But anyway, you know, it's those types of videos or sounds where it's just like some 13-year-old boy, some 15-year-old boy, some 18-year-old boy who's just hitting the gym or whatever is going to hear this and like think he has to be this like sleeping wolf, you know? And it's just like, what does that even mean? What does that even mean?
Who knows?
Yeah, like what direction are we giving?
Not to mention, there was a video I remember watching 2 or 3 years back that was like, what is a Sigma male? And I was like, I literally don't know. So
I was like, I don't know.
It was like 5 minutes long, and it was like it was really corny. I mean, we're talking like, you know, just ignore women, just head down. Which again, as we talked about, I mean, it's not a bad idea. But I think it gives these young men very impressionable ideas of like, that means ignore women the rest of your life.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, bro, as we talked about in YouTube exclusive number 1, you need a legacy.
100%.
You know, like you should be marrying and having kids too. Like that's not, women aren't all bad. Like I don't know, whoever told you that lied to you.
No.
By the way, too.
And on the flip side of that, not all men are bad. You know what I mean? Like, there are negatives obviously to both, and you're gonna find your bad apples, and sometimes you are one of those bad apples, you know, and what you have to do is work through those times where it's either yourself or, you know, if you're in a bad relationship or a toxic relationship or something like that, like you got to work through that. Yeah. You got to learn through that, and you got to come out better. Yeah. You know, that's the thing about it. And that takes some self-reflection. We've talked about that plenty throughout the exclusives, throughout the podcast episodes and whatnot. But we had another negative point on it, but I'm kind of blanking on it. It was the corniness of it, and just, well, I guess you kind of hit on it. Just pushing young men into the wrong direction, of the ignoring women, of the going ghost for years on end, when it's like, okay, I think we actually had a full podcast episode on this. You know, sometimes there are times where you got to go a little bit quiet. you do have to go quiet. Like sometimes that is needed, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, you and I technically went quiet for like 6 months to a year with the extrication, original stuff and whatnot
absolutely.
too. But again, we weren't really quiet, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Like, it's not like we stopped hanging out with friends. It's not like we stopped talking to like any, like, it's like we saw a woman and we just didn't talk to her.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's not what we did. That's not
100%.
what going ghost means. It just means that like we were putting in work. We didn't really tell anybody about it.
Sure.
And cool, we launched the thing and got it going.
Exactly. And as a matter of fact, it happened all right across the street from where we are right now.
Right in this area here, essentially is what happened. Yeah, which is awesome.
Yes.
But that's the issue I have with it, because I love the whole, you know, if you're in a bad place mentally as a man, if you're in a bad place financially, I love the idea of working on that.
Oh,
and you know, like, yes, can women become somewhat of a distraction to that when you're like 20 years old? Sure, no doubt. But it's really developing the potential for income. You don't have to be a millionaire to be able to find a wife or something like that.
Right.
That's a lie that's been told a lot in a lot of ways too. I need to be able to provide her 3 houses and a Range Rover, and it's like, no, that's not the case. Like, you find a good woman, especially a biblical woman, by the way, then that's not the case. So that's I would say we kind of hit on that for sure, but it's like, that's the negative, is it gives these young men this weird view of masculinity.
Yes.
And it's not really, like, stoicism is great.
It can be extremely beneficial.
It's great, you know, and like being able to control your emotions and having a hold on them and understanding on them. But you can go down a path where it takes you too far real quick.
Definitely,
you know?
definitely, yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, and so I think going into the positives, one of the positives is almost a similar point to the negatives, to where it can give you direction. You know, as funny as that sounds, like, it can give you direction. So all these negative situations that we're talking about, guys, sometimes you just need you need a path to follow.
Absolutely.
You know, you need the direction, you need a push from something. And just because you hear a quote from, you know, Sean Whalen or Ian Smith or Andy Frisell, like
Andy Elliott.
Yeah, right. You know, it doesn't just mean like, okay, I'm ready to go. Like, let's go. You know, like, okay.
I wish it was that simple.
I wish so too, but I think the good thing about those types of guys, you know, David Goggins would be another, even some of Joe Rogan's stuff, any of the big influencers, you know, that you hear sounds of, you see quotes of, or interviews or whatever. The thing about it is it can get your mind spinning, you know, and it can almost cause you to look inward a little bit. And it's like, okay, am I going down a path that I want to? If not, like, maybe I need to listen to these guys. Maybe I need to read their books, or read a book, or whatever, or just find other guys to put yourself around to then give you that direction, give you that guidance. You know, something that we haven't done in a while, but something that's been very beneficial to us and to the guys that come are our guys' nights.
100%.
You know, we've mentioned before, we have as young as 18 all the way up to the ancient age that JT is of 31 years old. You know?
Or as you say, like 103 or whatever you said last.
Right. So
he was mad we didn't mention him last episode, by the way.
I was just about to say, there's our JT mention, since we forgot to last podcast episode. Very awkward. Yikes.
We're faltering as a podcast, apparently.
So funny. But it can also provide that direction. You know, that's kind of what I want to say.
And no doubt, I would honestly tend to agree with that in a lot of ways, because, you know, I have seen certain men take it in the right direction, and take it in the right direction of like, okay, this was the Sigma male thing, or like some sounds on TikTok were a part of the reason they started getting into the gym and whatnot. You know what I mean? And that's a good thing for sure. Maybe they started working on finding other income streams, or like building a business, or working hard in their careers because 100%. Of this. Who knows? You know. And again, it's just tempering that influence to a certain point. You know what I mean? Like, not getting so deep into the woods that you're just consuming content, and then doing nothing about it. You know? And again, as we've said before, it's not like we're coming to you from as a top of the mountain type men. No. Because, you know, we haven't accomplished what we even, like, a fraction of what we set out to accomplish yet.
Correct.
So, and we never will, truthfully, because like as we talked about, it's a journey.
Right.
But, you know, and I would probably say another positive is it actually did encourage more masculine traits in a lot of men too.
Definitely. Something that has not been encouraged.
Right, the last 50 years plus, it really hasn't been encouraged. The masculinity has been kind of demonized in a lot of ways. You know, we've tried to blend men and women into the same thing, that women can do the same thing men can do, and men can do the same thing women can do, that type of thing. Men can play women's sports, women can play men's sports, that type of thing, or, you know, that type of stuff. So I feel like these trends do have the positive of, okay, this is a masculine trait, being stoic, being the provider, being physically fit is also another big masculine trait. Of course, being physically fit is a good thing as a woman too. But yeah, I think that's probably another positive, I'd say.
I think at least last positive for me is it will take your attention on social media to more valuable things as to the invaluable things on social media, whether that's the OnlyFans girls, things like that, which
I have a bone to pick with Elon about that one. You and I have a lot of bones to pick with X and all the stuff they allow on
there's
there.
No doubt. There's no doubt. Not only that type of stuff, but just like the gruesome stuff that's on there, which just has no place on social media. Like it really doesn't.
Again, you and I are big Constitution guys, big free speech guys, but it's like, it gets to a
that's
point.
A tough line. You know what I mean? Like
at some point in time is when is this content actually harming more than
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like some of the stuff that you and I have seen, it's just like I had zero reason and zero intention of ever seeing something like that, and I don't follow this account.
Right.
I don't interact with this account. And sometimes it just happens to catch your attention. It's hard to look away at times, which is kind of a messed up thing.
Oh yeah.
But it's going to take your attention from those types of things and and put your attention towards these things that can actually provide you value, which is obviously an important thing, and that's a good thing that comes out of this. So it's a very quick overview of the whole Sigma male trend, both some positives and some negatives. I think it is more of a net positive than a net negative.
Yep.
I think as you get a little bit older, when you're closer to our ages, if you're younger, it can be hard to differentiate between, is this having a positive influence on me? Is it having a negative influence on me? Because you might just hear it and be like, all right, let's go. You know what I mean? When it might be something goofy, like there's a sleeping wolf within me and I can go to death row in the blink of an eye. And it's just like,
I can't take it.
No, I know. Like it's so stupid. It's so stupid.
It's like that's not the way to activate some masculine gene in you or something like that.
Not at all. Not at all.
And I think this video is important too because a lot of people will see the Sigma male title and they'll think, it's only for the younger crowd and whatnot.
Right.
When in reality, it's actually, if you watch this as part of the older crowd, you can then take this to younger people and younger men in your life. Be like, hey, what do you think about this?
Right.
Or if you're a younger guy, talk to the older role models in your life, older male role models in your life about what they think about the Sigma male trend and whatnot. Is it beneficial? Should we limit that? What type of actually masculinity content should we have? Should it be like that biblical masculinity that we always talk about and whatnot instead of just only the Sigma male, the wolf inside me and all this other stuff. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
It activates a real conversation, which is important.
Right. Yeah. Right. No, I think it is important, and down the road we may even end up doing another like a full podcast episode on something like this, or even have a guest on to add additional thoughts to it. Again, Lau could be a good one to give some female perspective on this. JT could be a good one. If we could ever get Connor back to St. Louis, he would be a great one to have. But
do we really want to travel up to Ohio? You know what I mean?
I think we bring him back here. We just be like, hey, we got S2 in first form here, and you don't. So
that's true. That would with Connor, that's all it would take too. That's a funny thing.
Yes. So guys, that is going to be YouTube exclusive number 3. We know you enjoyed it. We know you learned something. We know you get your mind spinning in some way. Okay. So obviously, you need to share the video, okay?
Obviously.
Take a screenshot of your phone. If it's up on the movie screen, like what we mentioned in the last podcast episode.
That was an insane bit.
Take a bit. Well, it really was. You guys need to go listen to our last podcast
you
episode.
About schizophrenic guys. Oh my gosh.
Because we did have good points throughout it, but we also went some just wild directions. We were talking about spaceship names and people watching some movie screens, and like it was just all over the place at times, in funny ways, in good ways.
Yep. We are serious but unserious dudes.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So guys, make sure you share the show, share the podcast episodes as well. It makes it Spotify and Apple make it extremely, I can't talk right now.
It's the wind.
Extremely easy to share the show. It's free. It only stays on there for 24 hours, so it's not like some long drawn out thing that you have to do or that we're asking you to do for us. It just helps us a tremendous amount. So guys, please share the show. Keep up the love, keep up the support, and until next time, peace and love.
Thanks, ladies and gents. Appreciate you guys.